Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. If you're looking for the most undervalued investment opportunities in the world, click subscribe. I'll get them in front of your face. We'll talk about them. I'll give you a bunch of information. Financial education is this channel. And once you really start diving into valuations and sectors, I think it's quite compelling for the sectors that this channel is invested in or talks about. So today I'm going to talk about uranium. We're going to give a uranium update, technical analysis. It's definitely on the move. I'm going to show you some charts. We're going to look at the charts, short-term, long-term. We're going to look at a whole bunch of stuff and see what the sector's doing. I think that it's looking very positive. So let's jump into the charts. I'll describe what I'm seeing, give you guys a uranium update. So I call it the move. Lots of movement going on today in the positive direction. Let's look at some of these charts to see what's going on. We're looking for chart breaks and for strength and momentum. And again, this is financial education channel and should not be viewed as anything else. So these are not recommendations. You guys have to do your own due diligence and research on the companies that you like. One thing I definitely want to point out is the dollar was down. And commodities are priced off of two things. They're priced off of the dollar because that's what they're priced in. And they're also priced off of supply-demand balances. Now, looking at this dollar down 0.4% roughly, that's going to move commodities, and it's going to move them in its entirety. And that's what we saw today. Uranium, no exception. Yields were down a little bit, about 1%, and they look like they might potentially head lower. You see these big down days and then the sideways movement with not much up action. So I think this is going to decline. With a declining dollar and a declining yield, if we match those two up, that's going to be fire for a lot of commodities. They'll do quite well, I think. So URNM, this is the North Shore Global Uranium Mining ETF. Volume is continuing to remain high. We had a little breakout to the downside, which was a false breakdown, and we reversed and we're shooting on higher. Shooting on higher with good volume and good movement. So a lot of power behind this move. Lots of buyers, not many sellers. So let's look at some of the companies, the individual companies, to see what I'm seeing here. So here's Encore Energy. It is one of my favorite companies. And you can see this downtrend here and this big pile up of price. Like it was just piling up and coiling up into this corner here. You could put another trend line right here as well. So it just piled up all in this corner. And we broke to the upside out of this downtrend line, and we're popping higher. I don't know if it ended here. I did a little bit early, but nice move to the upside, a little bit of volume stepping in. So that looks really good to continue higher. Now, on a long-term perspective for Encore Energy, if you draw this trend line across, and remember, you always want to step back and get a big picture view. This right here is like you're in the chart almost. You're so far close to it. So we've got a move that's going higher on the near term, but I like looking at the long term. Long term is what wins. It wins the game. If we're in a game, you need to be looking at long-term charts. Short-term charts for your entry, long-term charts for your holding. If you look at this chart, I put a line, basically a resistance line, at two spots. We had a move here and a move here. I put the resistance line across, and we got this big bowl-shaped pattern. What you see in technical analysis is you see the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So if I were to cut this at about 2018 and a half, right here, or 2018, somewhere in this range in here, you cut this in half. This side typically mirrors this side. So this downward movement and where there were struggles between the buyers and the sellers, we've got buyers and sellers at every single turning point here. They're struggles, and those struggles usually manifest themselves on the opposite side over here because you have a lot of buyers and sellers at those struggle points. The price sits there for a while, which means that the price is going to sit on the other side for a little while. It acts as resistance when the price moves back up through it. And we're seeing that. This was the resistance here. But what do you see? We see a trend line break. It moved to the upside, and we're moving on up with good momentum and going to break this high right here. If we break this high here, look at the long term. There isn't too much resistance up here. There's not much resistance up here, guys. I mean, there's a couple of battles. You might see a little bit of movement, and then this thing could go and get, we call it a vacuum. It can vacuum higher because when you get to this above $1 area, there's not many buyers and sellers. There wasn't too many battles, and this thing kind of just dropped down and out. It could vacuum back up. There's not much resistance there is all I'm saying. So Encore Energy looks very good to kind of work its way higher. And if it breaks this high here, it could vacuum up a little bit. I mean, we have a little bit of resistance here because we're right about maybe at this point here. It could vacuum up when we clear this little area here. So we could see a move, a good move higher, possibly. I'm not calling for it, but I'm just saying be aware of this. Be aware of when you look at charts that if the resistance runs away, it can move quite large to the upside. And conversely, when you move to the upside, it could also fall back down quite quickly as well. Here's Deep Yellow. Deep Yellow has my attention. It's another one of my favorite companies. And I'm going to show you why I like it right here, right now. To be cost averaging in, that's what I'm doing. And we pulled on up. We've got this pattern, this downtrend line. We're right there. Now, I don't know if this thing's going to hold or break back down. I think it's going to hold. It looks like it's going to move up. The other companies in this sector are also going up. So I think it's going to move higher. So let's look at this from a long-term perspective. When you look at this from a long-term perspective, the flatter the line, see how we've got this big line here? We had a lot of buyers and sellers at this line. This resistance line is very strong. We hit it in here, we hit it in here, we hit it in here. It's all over the place. Now, we came up to this line and we've been hitting our head on it for a little while. We zoom back in here, we're kind of hitting our head on this 60-cent level. We can't break through. We're trying. This sector is showing strength. Money's rotating into it. When this line breaks, this line right here, you could potentially see a very large move. So what I like to do is I like to buy before the breakout, and I load up. So I like Deep Yellow, and I'm buying Deep Yellow for the move potentially of breaking this 60-cent-ish area. We have to break through it and hold above it. That's what we need to do. We broke through it a little bit. It came back down. The sellers were too strong. It needed time to rest and recuperate. Well, we've rested and we've recuperated. The sector overall is looking stronger, and I think Deep Yellow is going to surprise some people. So that's the one that's got my attention. I think that one looks really good. Global Atomic, I think this actually ended up a little bit. It finished a little bit stronger. Again, we're kind of bumping up against some sellers up here. So this one's hitting some resistance right now. Not that it's bad. It's just hitting resistance. Goviak's Uranium's looking quite compelling as well. We've got the downtrend line. We broke the downtrend line. We got the volume stepping in. Boom, punched higher. And whenever you break a trend line, sometimes they like to pull back and do a back test, or they just kind of move sideways. This may just move sideways a little bit and then lurch, however you want to say it, continue its move higher. So that one looks pretty good. Sky Harbor. Well, this guy's in a strong uptrend, and these Canadian uranium companies today, they obviously took their steroid shots this morning because they're all just absolutely freaking out to the upside, hitting the roids hard or something, because these guys were going hard. So Sky Harbor, it's in a nice, good uptrend, moving to the upside. So that one looks good. Pure Point. I think this actually ended up even higher at 12 cents. Pure Point, I should have done even another picture, kind of a bigger picture. Pure Point's its potential could launch from a very large launching pad. If you look at it from a very big long-term perspective. I've got a lot of other videos on this channel. I go over a lot of long-term charting in uranium. Today, we had a 50% up day, I think is where it ended or so. It was 37.5% when I did this charting here. So it's very strong. It's got a lot of momentum behind it. And we're going to come up. And I think if we break kind of clear through this, if we break through like 13 cents or 14 cents, somewhere in that range, you could see a substantial move higher or a continuation of the uptrend, either one. But this one's looking very strong, and it's one of my favorite kind of small cap uranium companies. Baseload's not doing too hot. It's all the way down here. We did put a wick on the bottom. It is a hammer pattern. That is typically a reversal pattern. They've been struggling as they were supposed to get drill results from the Shadow project, and they ran into problems doing the gravity surveys that they were going to do, and the locals there were preventing them from doing it. So they backed off, and they're speaking with the community to move forward and educate them on what they are going to do on the Shadow project. So that's what's undergoing right now. I think that's what kind of the sell-off is. And I still own all of my baseload shares. I still like the company. I still like James. I still think that they'll potentially move forward with the Shadow project. So it's just delayed. That's all. Here is Next Gen Energy. We are still in this sideways channel. Lots of volume, big momentum and update. I don't know if it ended here, but it was looking very strong and progressing throughout the day very strongly. I have no doubt that this is going to break to the upside at some point. I don't know the exact timing, but when it breaks, you could see another leg higher. So that's looking excellent. Excellent move there. Fission's in its channel as well. It was just at the top of its channel. It sold off. Big volume on the sell-off. I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning is. I didn't have time to do a bunch of research into it. If you guys know of anything about Fission, if there's any reason for the move, please leave it in the comments section. But it's still in its channel, looking fantastic. Camco, again, these Canadian uranium companies, massive moves. Very big move in Camco, up 10.7%. This is looking very strong, looking good. UU Energy Fuels, again, the American companies, they were looking pretty strong as well. This one's moving to the upside, looking good. UEC, that one's also looking good. And what you notice in this pattern here, just to kind of let you guys know, what I look for in a strong bull market, the patterns that I look for are large up days, and up days are big difference between the opening and closing price, the big candlestick bodies, and then I look for small pullbacks, the small red days. Big move up, see the big 2 up days, and then the small 2 down days. This means there's more power in this move going to the upside. This move was faster to the upside than the small leak off of sellers. And then we got a nice hammer reversal point. Big move up, small pullback. Big move up, small pullback. You see that pattern? It's a continuation pattern to the upside. The buyers are in control. Same with URC. This guy's moving up quite good. Looking fantastic. Forces Metals, again, you can see the pattern if you look. Big up days, small pullback. You can see it everywhere in these small little pullbacks. Looking fantastic. Plateau Uranium, downtrend's not broken yet, but it looks like we're stepping up into it with higher lows. I would expect this to break to the upside. This might be one that you could watch if you like it. And I know that they've got the government down, was this Peru or something? I know there's some people worrying about the leader of that country, wherever they're located. So I know there was some talk around Plateau Energy and with respect to some government stuff. So you might want to do some further research there. This guy's got some good movement here. Nice big updates and small pullback. This thing's going to attack its resistance line probably pretty soon. So that's one to watch, LEU. Lightbridge is another one. It looks like it's kind of dying down and it's in this dead period zone. That's when I usually like to buy. It's got the support of the 200-day moving average. We've got basically this pullback and the leak off of the sellers moving sideways. This could have an explosive move very soon when it breaks this downtrend line. I would be looking right now, right here, if you like Lightbridge. And if you don't know anything about it, go ahead and research it. But from a charting standpoint, if you see this guy move and start to break through this downtrend line, I think it looks pretty good. UR Energy, another American uranium company, that's doing pretty well. Not too much to say there. Denison Mines, doing pretty well. Looking pretty good to go to the upside still. ALX Uranium, a small little uranium. I even think they have some precious metals that they look for. There's another small little company. It's coiling up in this pattern right now. UEXCF, you can see this downtrend line broke and it's moving on higher. It's kind of doing a breakout thing with good volume. So that's looking fantastic. And I own some UEXCF. I bought it before the breakout down here. I bought a bunch of it, so I like that one. Fission looks like this guy's looking to try to break out. This is Fission 3.0. This is it's related to Fission. It's their exploration kind of small cap company, but it's trying to break through this downtrend right now. And Bannerman, this is the last one. Bannerman is coiling up in this flag pattern. This thing's looking fantastic, or pennant formation. We got a nice little bullish engulfing here. Curious to see when this thing breaks. So it looks like we could be at the beginning of another up leg. And what did I do this entire time? Most of the time I do nothing. I just sit on my shares, sit on my hands, click refresh on the portfolio, and watch these companies go higher. Right now, they're breaking downtrends, some of these companies. The leaders are breaking it. We're seeing some big patterns like Deep Yellow that are about to break its resistance line. When it breaks, it could be pretty fun. I'm buying a little bit more in Deep Yellow, getting a little bit more exposure there. I already own quite a bit. It's one of my overweighted companies that I bought a while back. Encore Energy, Deep Yellow. I like baseload as an explorer. It's down right now. You can take a dual approach here. And sometimes when I'm looking at these companies, Bannerman looks good too here, that I have on the screen. When I look at some of these companies, sometimes I buy them when some are down. Sometimes I buy some that are breaking out of chart patterns like Bannerman or a Deep Yellow or an Encore Energy. You buy the leader and you buy the strength. So I take a split approach sometimes. I don't always buy things when they're way down. Sometimes I buy the strongest ones, like Global Atomic I bought on a breakout way back. It was like 40-something cents. Then I bought that, got a good position size in it. It kept going up and it never really pulled back to give you a really good buying point. And I just bought more into that strength. So sometimes I buy into strength. Sometimes I buy like before a chart break. Sometimes I buy a company that's going to break a very large pattern and it's just sitting there kind of going nowhere. And I just buy a bunch, accumulate before the big move. Something like a Bannerman right here, it looks pretty good. If the sector in its entirety is going to move higher, these will eventually catch up. So that's the importance of looking at an entire sector, not just looking at one individual stock. You want to get the biggest, clearest picture that you can. And if you've got dollar weakness that's behind us, giving us a nice tailwind, I think we're going to do pretty well here coming up this summer. Thanks for listening. This is Finding Value.